What's happening everyone, my name is Alex and welcome back. In today's video we are checking out one of the latest city e-bikes from Eido called the R28. Now that number in the name there suggests that we have 28-inch wheels on the front and of course on the back. This bike is also a bit different because it has a torque sensor, so it doesn't get a speed sensor like most other e-bikes priced similarly. So the power delivery that you're gonna get from a torque sensor is much better. So as soon as you push that pedal you're gonna get power right away. So I do like that a lot about this bike. This is also a bit different because we don't have a chain. So this one has a carbon belt instead of a chain, and that gives us basically a maintenance free bike for up to 30,000 kilometers. So there is nothing to lube, nothing to clean, and the bike is also quieter whenever you're riding it. So there are some advantages to having one of these belts instead of a chain. Now, there are also some disadvantages, and of course that has to do with the fact that we don't get any gears. So we get one gear and that's about it. So that is a bit of a disadvantage, but we'll talk more about that later on in the video. Let's start by doing a bit of an unboxing just so I can show you how the bike comes packed in the box and what you have to do to get this ready and on the road. Okay, so we get a big box as you'd expect because obviously we have a pretty large bike, but this is not that heavy. So this weighs about 21 kilos, so definitely not the heaviest bike that I tried. So yes, you can carry this around for a bit. Now, this comes packed really well in the box, so it's not going to get damaged during transportation, but you do have to do a bit of an installation. You basically have to put the handlebar here together, you have to put the front wheel together, you have to put the front mud guard together and the light, and of course the pedals. As you've probably noticed by now, this bike has a step-through design, so it's much easier to climb on this bike when compared to one that doesn't have a similar design. So very easy to get on and off this bike. We also have a front suspension here. Now, this doesn't have that much travel, about 2 inches of travel, but it definitely makes a difference whenever you're riding over uneven terrain. The bike also gets hydraulic disc brakes on the front and of course on the back. These are 160mm disc brakes, and the braking power is also really good, and I'm happy to say that the brakes don't actually make any noise whenever you're riding the bike without braking. Of course, if you're braking you will hear the brakes, but other than that the brakes don't really make any noise. And when we combine that with the belt drive that we have on this bike, this is probably one of the most quiet e-bikes that I got to ride up until now. So extremely quiet and extremely smooth. This bike is also road legal in the EU and the UK, and that means one thing. It means that we cannot have a motor that has a power of over 250 watts. So this bike gets a 250 watt motor that's located in the rear wheel here. Now, when you combine that motor with the torque sensors that we have on this bike, you do get plenty of power for flat roads like here, for example. So if you're riding on surfaces like this, you do have plenty of power and you can easily reach that 25 kilometers an hour. That is the top speed limit for this bike. After that, the motor basically cuts off. Now, what happens when we have a 250 watt motor and no gears, because we have one gear only? When you get to ride uphill, you're gonna have to put a lot of effort into riding. So there is really no power when you're going uphill because, well, we don't have any gears, so we cannot shift down. So riding this bike uphill is definitely not the greatest thing out there. The bike also has plastic mud guards on the back and of course on the front. So these are going to protect you in case you're riding and the pavement is wet or something like that. Personally, here it doesn't really rain, so I never had a chance to ride the bike in the rain. Now, the battery pack on this bike is actually located in the seat post right here. So all this is the battery pack. This is also locked in place with a key, but that also means that every time you want to move the seat up and down, you kind of have to unlock that and then move the seat up and down. Now, this is also not the highest capacity battery pack for an e-bike. So the manufacturer says that you're going to get about 100 kilometers of range on one charge. Realistically, you're going to get about 50 to 60 kilometers of range on one charge. But again, that can also change depending on your riding style, how heavy you are, how hot it is outside, where you're riding, if you're riding uphill and so on. But realistically, you're going to get about 50 to 60 kilometers of range on one charge. The rack that we get on the back here can be removed if you don't want it. We also have a light here. This is battery powered, so you're gonna have to change those batteries every so often, and you can also install that light on the back here, but that's not connected to the bike's battery pack. On the front here we also have a front light. This is bright enough so you can actually see it during the day, and of course bright enough so it can light up the path ahead of you during the night. Now on the front here you can also install a basket. So we have 4 screws that you could potentially remove, and then you could install a basket on the front. Now, one thing that I really like about this bike is the fact that the handlebar here can be adjusted in height. Well, kind of. So you can move it higher or lower. So if you unscrew this screw right here, this can come up a bit higher, and this gives you a very comfortable riding position. So there is no pressure that you're gonna feel on your wrists like other bikes that I've tried in the past. So a very straight, very comfortable position, probably one of the most comfortable positions, riding positions on a bike. Now, I do wish the seat here would have had slightly more padding. It's not bad, but I did have better ones in the past. But overall, the riding position, the riding comfort, and the quietness of the ride is among the best on any e-bike that I got to try up until now. Since we are talking about the handlebar, the grips here are made out of some fake leather material, I'm gonna say, I'm not sure how to call it. They don't seem to move at all, so nice grips. We also have the bell here, fairly loud bell. We have the brake levers that are made out of metal, and in the center here we have the screen. Now the screen, it's a bit hard to see if you're riding on a super bright day like today, so you can kind of see it, but not really. You can definitely see it good enough if it's not that bright out. The screen will show you the speed, how much battery you have. Of course, it will also show you the odometer and stuff like that. Overall, a decent screen, but it would have been better if it was a bit brighter. Alright, so let me quickly show you how you would ride this bike. So first of all, we have a button right here, so press on that button. Then we have the power button right here. Hold this press for about 3 seconds or so, and the bike comes on. So from here we can switch levels of pedal assist. So we are going to be in level 3, and basically as soon as you start riding, as soon as you push on the pedal, the bike will start assisting you. So right away. The motor is extremely quiet, so you're not gonna be able to hear it, or maybe you will, but it is extremely quiet as well. And I'm not sure if you can hear how quiet the bike is in fact. So the harder you push on the pedal, the more power this will basically give you. It is a bit windy now, so you're probably gonna hear some wind aside from my voice. We'll do a brake test right here, so from about 25 kilometers. So if you want, you can definitely lock that front and rear wheel. We'll brake again here. And as I said, as soon as you push on the pedal, you get power right away. So in that sense, having a torque sensor is much nicer than having a speed sensor. So aside from that brake noise when you're braking, you don't really hear anything with this bike, and the acceleration is also quite good as well. So as I said, as soon as you push on that pedal, you get power. So very nice in that sense, and very comfortable to ride as well. So to quickly conclude this video, the Eido R28 is a very comfortable bike. As I said, it's one of the most comfortable bikes that I got to ride up until now. It's also extremely quiet, and I do like that a lot about this bike. The only downside that I see with this bike is the fact that we don't have any gears. Sure, it's nice to have that belt drive, but we don't get any gears, so whenever you get to ride uphill, it is difficult riding uphill with it. But if there are no hills wherever you're riding, this is gonna be the perfect bike. Alright guys, hopefully this video was useful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.